have a special treat, our keynote speaker. He has a wealth of experience in the travel industry, and we are thrilled to have him share his expertise with us today. He oversees 30 travel brands in various sectors across 20-plus countries, and he joined dnata in November 2017 as CEO for B2B Europe after serving as COO for Spa Finder Wellness in Miami. In May 2018, his role at dnata expanded to include all B2B and B2C trading brands within the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome the CEO of dnata Travel Group, Mr. John Bevan.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Minister, distinguished guests, it's an absolute honor to be asked to talk to you today. I'm John Bevan. I've been based in Dubai now for 3.5 years, looking after the whole of the dnata travel portfolio. And as I said, it's an honor to talk to you today. I've been asked to sort of talk to you about the luxury traveler. It's a big topic. And I'd like to share some of our insights, some of our views, and maybe challenge you a little bit on the way forward for Maldives as a destination. Maldives is one of our top destinations as a group, not just out of the UK, but also out of the UAE. And our businesses across the UAE are expanding at quite a rate, with a strong base in Dubai, where we are the largest operator by quite a long way, especially with the corporate business. But with businesses now in Saudi, in KSA, we've been there 15 years, but we're moving into leisure in a big way next year, but also across Bahrain, Oman, and in Iraq. And hopefully in the future, you'll see some further expansions into the GCC. So very committed to growing our dnata travel brand on the leisure side across the GCC. Huge opportunities there, as I said, especially in KSA. So today, I'll talk to you a bit about our view on the luxury traveler, and I'm very conscious I'm talking to an amazing group of experts when it comes to luxury. So I'm not going to try and teach you how to suck eggs. So it's very much our view, and I can't thank you enough for the work that you guys do to create amazing, long-lasting memories for so many of our customers and your guests, and hopefully we can keep building on that with years to come. I think luxury has changed quite significantly post-COVID. There was a lot of stuff happening pre-COVID, and when I was in the spa industry, in the wellness industry, there's a lot of talk around new trends and, wellness and people going out for detox, relaxation, and so on. And it was starting to happen, but COVID did something that I don't think, and I hope, will never happen again. It reset the world. And when you think about it, we had afterwards, and I know you were very well positioned, and your government and yourselves did an amazing job of being open, the first and the safest place to go. And with your secluded islands, it created that perfect place for people to go safely on holiday. And you put Maldives on the map. A lot of people had never been here because it aspired to be this luxury destination, the once-in-a-lifetime destination, and suddenly they were coming here to the Maldives because it was the best option they had. And I think what it did was you had that revenge travel, where people hadn't traveled for several years, and we humans have to travel. It's like in our DNA. It's very hard to stop people traveling, but they also had money. So we had an exceptional couple of years where people were booking at much shorter booking windows. In fact, one of our peaks coming out of COVID, we'd never sold holidays with our long-haul brands in the UK, like Gold Medal and Travel Bag, with people traveling within weeks. It was just unheard of. Normally in January, we sell the summer at best, but normally the following winter, and probably even the following Easter. So it's changed everything. Things have normalized. So as time is stretched out, we're now seeing normal booking windows resume with the good old, in January they're booking for the following Christmas, Easter, and so on and so forth. So all of our brands have gone back to where they were. But what has changed is we're seeing the purpose for travel, the reason to travel has remained, And I think what we've seen is we've seen the younger generations, we've seen the family groups have gone and experienced luxury and long-haul destinations, which they may not have done before, suddenly realize the value they got out of it. And that's credit to what you guys do. And I think often people don't travel in business class, they think it's a waste of money, or they don't trade up to a beautiful five-star hotel because they think they're not going to get the value for the money. And then suddenly they've tried it, and they've come away going, wow, that was actually, I now understand what the services levels are all about, why that price point is worth it. So I think we've seen a big change in the perception for luxury, and the people now can afford, not just afford it, but want to pay for it because they want to repeat that experience. We've seen a lot of changes around social media. Social media was building before COVID. I mean, coming out of COVID, that's kind of what kept us going, right? So we all got onto Teams and electronic ways of communicating, and of course social media has really flourished since, and I'll talk a bit more about that. So we're seeing a big shift towards a wider demographic in luxury, a younger demographic, different reasons to travel, and I'll come on to a bit of that as well. Talking a bit about GCC and our market, it's a fascinating market. I've been there, as I said, 3 years, and what you see out of especially the Emiratis and the UAE customers, is that very high levels of education, affluent, really smart people, used to in the old days decamp in the summer and go to their places in London and Paris and all the various cities they live in. We're now seeing a change, and they are super influenced by social media. I mean, incredibly so. They're very loyal, excuse me, to the royal family or the rulers' families. And we have seen Sheikh Hamdan has been to the Maldives, put it on social media. He's been to the Mauritius, he's been to South Africa. In all those destinations, we see the following year pick up. And the social media impact is phenomenal. We ourselves are seeing a big change. We're seeing more groups of women traveling together, Emirati women. I have that in my own business. So they tend to travel with family groups, so sisters, cousins, and they're now allowed to sort of freely travel as groups, unaccompanied by men. Things are moving at such a pace, the freedom to move in the UAE and Saudi is huge. And then the family groups, and I know we have talked to a couple of hoteliers here over the last night and today. You see them arrive in big numbers with the entourage, with the kilos of, hundreds of kilos of luggage. Great customers, and what they're after is service, quiet, privacy, and they want to sort of have their own thing. So we are tapping into that market in a big way because obviously we're a well-known brand there, and we ourselves have, in fact, the bottom right picture is our own influencer who's going out helping market our brand through the social channels. So it's an interesting market, and we'll talk a bit about the opportunity for Saudi, for example, going forward. The travel trend, I love travel trends because most of them are, when I was in the spa industry, I used to do spa trends every year, and most of them were made up by someone very clever in the room. But we are definitely seeing some changes. I think some of them are going to revert back. There's a lot of talk about leisure, business and leisure. That one, I think is quite interesting because Amazon just announced that as of January 1, everyone's back in the office 5 days a week. I think a lot of the big companies are now realizing this remote working doesn't always work. So that one, I'd say, probably still there for the smaller, maybe self-employed. The larger companies are going to rein people back into work. What we are definitely seeing, and the Minister talked a lot about sustainability, is people are more conscious about their impact on their travels, and therefore we're seeing longer stays. If I'm going further away, stay a bit longer. And I think that plays into the long-haul destinations, sort of out of Europe into this part of the world, most definitely. And we're seeing even the Americans taking more time out, coming into the Middle East and discovering more, taking a bit longer time. And that's a good thing because then we get longer stays, better room rates. What we're seeing as well on a lot of our brands, because we sell a long time ahead, the opportunity to upgrade is there, and this is one of my little kind of pet projects within my teams. We have a business called Imagine Cruising that does cruise-based experiences. So they're holidays that have a ground element, which will be either music, concert-led, sports, trains, and then they also have a cruise. And what they're extremely good at is upselling a month out before the client. So the client's booked a year out. By the time it's 30 days to go, they're getting exciting, they're getting their stuff ready to go on holiday, then we upgrade them. And I'm trying to really push that. And I think that's when you realize that people want more. They're happy to have a better service. So upgrades and looking at ways where we can improve services are important. And then really one of the big trends, it was coming pre-COVID, but it's true now, is experiences. People want to go away and come back with an experience. And of course, the social media, the sort of Instagram, I saw even here we have little signs, places where you can have your photo taken with your branding. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. But of course here you have the beauty of every island. You have beautiful spots where people will take those memorable photographs. And I think that people, even the younger generations, and I'm talking the sort of 20s to 30s, which I have a few of those in my family, luckily off the payroll, so they do their own thing. But they have an objective every holiday, whether it's sports, whether it's culinary, whether it's discovering a new sort of environment, getting to know the local ways. So we see that as really important. And again, you have a big part to play here with the natural nature. You have the oceans and everything to play with it. And then wellness, part of where I was before, we talked about a lot of that, and there is no doubt that coming out of COVID, people were hungry for travel. I'm not going to put my hand up for it, but you have a lot of executives now who are back into the burnout zone. It's been so tough coming out of COVID. We've had to work so hard to get our businesses back up and running. People are now already flat out, and I see it in Dubai. People are working so hard, and the country is doing so well, but you're on this very fast treadmill. In Europe, they're having to fight even harder because the place is a bit of a mess, let's be honest, especially my country, the UK. We'll see what happens with the budgets in October. But everyone's on tenterhooks, but everyone's having to work really hard. And I think there you've got an opportunity, especially with what you offer, is that deconnection, to bring people here to then recharge and to regenerate. And you have a lot of hotels, I know, with fabulous wellness programs. And I think that piece is now back in, unfortunately for the wrong reasons, but we're having to work hard, and an interesting one. Talk a little bit about our market share. So these are our market shares as dnata. Our top ones, and mainly because we've got huge businesses there, UK and UAE, they form about 2/3 of our market shares, then closely followed by Germany, Kuwait, then Germany, Kuwait, and USA in much smaller numbers. So single-digit percentages from the 44% UK, 29% UAE. What is interesting, though, is if I look at the Indian Ocean as a whole, two countries stand out. One probably for obvious reasons, France. They're at 6% of UAE, of Indian Ocean, but only 1% of the Maldives for our businesses. And obviously there you've got some affiliations with certain islands which are much closer to France. But Saudi is the same percentage, 6% of market share for us, but only 1.7 in the Maldives. And I think there's probably work to be done to attract the Saudis. You're already doing an amazing job with the guys out of the UAE, so there's nothing to change. There's similar profiles, big families traveling together, and they're definitely on the move. So I think one to sort of think about as far as markets to go after. I haven't covered other markets. Obviously, we're not in them particularly, but I know that Asia is a big market for you. We don't have tour operations there as such. Just Yalago, our bed bank, has some work there, but we are quite focused on sort of Middle East, Europe, and USA. I'll try not to get too controversial. I'll talk into the challenges, but as I said earlier, I think COVID put the Maldives on the map, and you did a phenomenal job. And I think you attracted new clients, different types of clients, the families, the markets that were probably not the main markets into the Maldives, you know, the honeymooners, and the sort of once in a lifetime. But you're also building a lot of new properties, and you've got a lot coming, which then, you know, that is a challenge in itself, in that you've got internal competition, you've got more accommodations coming online, a lot of high-end product, and therefore we'll see that. I think that will put some pressure on your pricing. Also, the world's now completely reopened, and I can't stress it enough how much competition is out there, and how, not frivolous, but customers do make choices sometimes if they don't know, haven't been to the destination and discovered it, and haven't turned into a repeat booker. They will make choice on sometimes small amounts of money or the influence of the travel agent. Interestingly enough, still 30% of bookings in the UK are still made offline, and that figure hasn't changed. So 70% online, 30% offline. When I was at lastminute.com, I left there in 2008, that was already the split. What has changed is in those days, the 70% online was predominantly OTAs. Now what's happened is it's airlines, hotels, groups. So you have a place to play in the online market for sure. You could position yourself there and try and get away from relying on your booking.coms, your Expedias, because clients will book direct, and I think a couple of you mentioned that to me today. You even get really large bookings online. But that 70% offline has stayed constant, and that's really when you get those big groups, big families, complex holidays. They want the reassurance, and that's where the travel agent does their bit. I think also with the amount of properties that are coming, you know, hopefully the new airport will bring more capacity, but hopefully that balances itself out. Otherwise, you'll get that push and pull situation, and it's a situation that Dubai went through. When they had the gluts of hotels all landing at the same time and not enough people marketed to. Saudi's going to go through the same thing. They're building tons of hotels right now. Hotels are super expensive. You can't get a hotel in Riyadh for any key moments. When all these start delivering, you'll have plenty of rooms, prices will drop, and then they'll have to rebuild back up. And I think it's managing those ups and downs, which are quite important. And then, when we look at the numbers we see, is that there's been a real good steady growth, about almost 6.5% yearly over the last 5 years in room costs, room revenue. But with a lot of that is attributed to the change of size of groups, so less couples, more families, multi-generation, larger groups, also more products with larger products. So we've seen a really steady growth, and that's really encouraging. But then when we look at the last 12 months, we're seeing overall a slight drop in average room rate. And of course, with the rooms coming, unless we get more volume in, it's only going to go one way. There'll be more competition amongst this room. And I don't want you to all fall out. But we're here to help everyone. So I think that's one of the little kind of amber flags, I would say, is that there's got to be that response to that. And I know the Minister encouraged you all to do the marketing. This is a bit of a blank slide, Dubai on it. When I look at what Dubai has done with its marketing, it's phenomenal. And I take my hat off to them. They really do impress me. Okay, they may have slightly bigger budgets, and they're probably a different situation. They've been through some pretty rocky moments. You know, the government was not in a good place in 2008. And they've really driven in. Tourism is probably no longer the only source of revenue for them, because they have built, you know, they're building a whole different world of business, you know, looking at investments and so on. But tourism is still core, and the work they do with partners, the work they do with the trade is phenomenal. And I could also compare Saudi, but that's probably a different ballgame, where they're throwing money at it at the moment, and we don't know what to sell because the product's not there. So that's a different challenge for tour operators, and many are, you know, would love to help, but they don't know how to really convert the money they want to give us. But I think what you mustn't underestimate is that today Maldives is still known as that iconic kind of honeymoon, once-in-a-lifetime destination. Yes, you've got a growing market for families and so on. But as I was saying last night to one of your colleagues, the 30% that sell offline are the guys who sell the big bookings. And even online, the product guys who product market your destination have a mindset. And we've got to change the mindset of the guys who plan the holidays online. We've got to change the mindset of the people who sell the holidays. And for that, we need communication. We need the tourism board to help change the perception that it's just a once-in-a-lifetime destination, it's for couples, it's for honeymoons, and then open that up to the multi-generation groups, to the families, to everything else, so that you get you then fall into different buckets. I can guarantee you today that if a family walks into one of my travel shops, travel bag, and says, I'm looking for a family holiday, multi-generation, I don't know how high Maldives will come. There'll be a whole load of other destinations which they're used to selling because they're used to it. And they know there's X number of big hotels that will accommodate it. We need to change that perception. And I would challenge the tourism board that it's not just the hoteliers in this room that have to do that. I think the tourist board has to support that. It doesn't mean huge amounts of money. I think it's that communication. How do we change the message to say it's more encompassing? It's now not that difficult to get here. I mean, if you look at the UK, you've got loads of direct flights, loads of indirect flights. The flight prices aren't going to come down anytime soon, so that will always be a problem for the next few years. I think until the airline industry starts receiving planes, which is really, we're looking at back end of this year, next year and the year after, most airlines are throttled because they've got rid of their planes. Emirates is in a good place because they kept them all, so they're reaping the benefits. But honestly, so the airfares won't be a lot cheaper. The hotels will get squeezed. So I think you really need to build up that wider audience, that wider marketing message, to ensure that you're not just seen as that iconic place that, and especially when it's a once-in-a-lifetime, it puts you in a different price bracket. If it becomes a holiday multi-generation opportunity, then it automatically means I can probably afford it. So that's just my view on it. I think it has to be a collaboration, but I do think the Minister of Tourism have to help and have to get the messages out there through the various trade events and marketing in general. Because otherwise, if all we see is beautiful beaches, one person sat on a beach looking very, very exclusive, it won't work. You've got to bring that family imagery into it. You've got to bring that family message and the other stuff into it. So I'm not here to sell, but what I want to say is we love the Maldives. We do a lot for the Maldives. A couple of events that are coming up. We've got Opulence, which is, sorry about the E, I don't know what happened there. It is one word. It's a new business of ours. We have a ground GSA business representation. They're doing some exclusive events. So they're running one in Qatar in October where they bring luxury buyers and hoteliers together to meet. It's sponsored by Qatar. I think we have got some Maldivian hotels taking part. There is still room there. But otherwise, we're super excited to come back again with our Horizon roadshow. We did it, it'll be 3 years since we last came here, since 22. We bring all of the MDs of our businesses, all our product managers, some of the marketing guys. We have a really good discussion in this room, actually, last time, with the hoteliers, the sales directors, some GMs. Our team then go and visit as many properties as they can. And we found that after every one of these, we then get a boost of energy through our brands that start really pushing the destination. And my hope will be that this year's or next year's Horizon really focuses on the other markets, the wider audiences, and we'll try and prove to you that we could be some of the first to really drive that change in perception and really drive forward. So I think with that, I can't thank you enough for the time you've given me today. You've got an amazing destination, phenomenal properties. Yes, you know, thank you very much.